Welcome to Nano Podcast. This is a family podcast where we discuss everyday family issues. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah, in today's podcast, we're going to look into the most challenges teenagers face these days. I believe that this topic is one of the topics that a lot of people, they overlook. They don't really put much emphasis or look much interest into. Understand? And I want us to discuss about it. I think it's going to be interesting. The teenage staging is the most exciting and challenging time in our lives. It is exciting to be a teenager these days, especially 21st century. If you're looking into it, you realize that internet and social media have made it so much exciting for teenagers these days. You see them out social, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and all that. You understand? It's giving them that, I don't know, there's a vibe. Understand about being a teenager these days. Understand? So though some people will say that the issue technology brings, no other generation has experienced it. Having in mind that some of the issues, they are not new. You understand? But internet and social media has amplified some of those issues. You understand? So because of that internet and social media, the problems, those pressure, those challenges is out there for people to see more now. You understand? So, and that is why most people, teenagers, most of them, have much pressure these days.
Yeah. Teenage challenges might differ based on geographical, ethnic, and family orientations, but in all, they seem to have the same issues everywhere around the world.
Yeah, when you, like you said about geographical and you can say family orientations, geographically, if you compare the children in the West or teenagers in the West compared to those in Africa or some part of Asia, you realize that the pressures or the challenges they have might differ a bit. Do you understand what I mean? Sometimes if you compare teenagers in the West, for example, they have access to internet. Do you understand what I mean? They have access to internet. They can do their homework easily through internet because they have constant light and all that. Why compared to those in Africa or some part of Asia, you realize that for them to have access to internet, sometimes it's hard because of the resource and everything. You understand? So those are might differ. But at the end of the day, like you said, the issues they have and the challenges they have, they always have a common challenges.
Yeah.
You understand? And I want us to discuss about that today.
Yeah, let's look at some of the challenges that teenagers face these days. And one of those challenges is lack of freedom. I know that most teenagers will agree that lack of freedom is one of the most challenging things in their lives. And they want to experience life, make mistakes, and try new things on their own. So they'll fail sometimes, yes. But they want to go out on their own unsupervised. And they want to be respected and not to be treated like a kid. And so on. But parents and adults in their lives prefer to or assume that teenagers are not to be trusted to make their own decisions. So they'll think that they're not matured enough or they won't be able to handle their business and learn from their mistakes. That's a big challenge for young people these days.
It's a big challenge, but there's no way you're going to blame parents as well and the adults, because most of the teenagers, sometimes they believe that they're matured and they try to do mature things, right? But when you give them that privilege and give them that freedom in order for them to do that, they'll still fail. Because how? They'll still say to you the way they will behave and everything will come down for them, showing you that they are not matured enough, they are not ready. Do you understand? And because of that, you realize that some parents, they don't have the belief, they don't believe in that teenager to behave maturely, while the teenagers, they are calling for that, giving them their freedom in order for them to make mistakes and like that. Yes, they have to make mistakes and everything, but they have to earn it. that respect for even for the parents to give them the freedom.
Yeah.
We discussed that in one of our podcasts, isn't it, as well, some time ago. You know, what teenagers have to understand is this. You have to end that respect. You have to end that freedom. Do you understand what I mean? Yes. We said already before, it differs from geographically the area and family orientations. Some families, the way they will treat their teenagers might be different from other families. The way they will give them the freedom they might give to them might be different. You understand? So it still come down to that, family orientation and family
and
ethnicity
cultures.
and cultures and everything. So, but all of them are still fighting, and they're all seeking for that freedom in order for them to do what they want to do unsupervised, which they have to me, to my own opinion, I think they have to end it first.
Yeah.
They have to end that trust.
Yeah, and moving on from that, a second challenge for teenagers is the pressure of having high expectations from adults in their lives. And as a teenager, everyone wants you to be the best in everything. And it's especially from their parents and guardians. The pressure is enormous. So the teenager would probably take the pressure with them in all that they do. Instead of them being themselves, they can become someone else just to satisfy their parents. And most times they'll take this pressure with them to school, to their daily activities, just trying so hard to excel above their peers. And this can bring a lot of stress. And you know that when stress is not controlled, it can lead to something serious like mental issues.
Yeah, high expectations mostly comes from guidance, parents, adults. Sometimes you realize that most parents, we normally say that parents or teenagers or children are the extensions of their parents. You understand? So sometimes you realize that parents, maybe mistakes they did in their own life when they were growing.
They're trying to stop their
children. They will stop their children making the same mistakes. And sometimes it brings a lot of enormous pressure to these teenagers. You understand? They put in much of those weight on the shoulders. They try so hard in order for them to excel. And because of that, it brings a lot of pressure. Do you understand? And those teenagers, because of those pressure, too much pressure and expectations, you see them, most of them, they take it to school. They take it to their daily activities. Everything about them now become competition. Do you understand? They want to compete. They want to excel. It's not that it's bad, but the high expectation of it can lead the teenagers to have that stress, because now they want to, it's not only they want to, how will I say it? They want to excel. Now they want to prove to their parents or their guardians. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
As well, that they can, you know what I mean, excel what they're doing. I said that it's not bad, but excess of it is when it become bad, because now the parents, the expectation maybe why they put them,
it will go higher.
It's go higher, and some of those teenagers, they try so much in order to, you know what I mean?
Then they won't be able to take it anymore.
They won't be able to take it. They don't even know what to do in order to impress
their
parents or their guardian or something. And that can lead to mental fatigue. You see them, they start having doubt in themselves, in their ability, and it bring that, like you said as well, it bring mental issues. And most of them, you see at a long run, they might start having anxiety and depression because of those mental issues, mental
problems.
And
speaking of anxiety and depression, that's one of the challenges that teenagers face these days as well. It's not just from their parents. It can be from anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of teens are trying so hard to impress their peers or their parents or guardians that they're being overwhelmed by the high expectations on them. And the pressure to excel can lead to anxiety, just as you said. And when they can't live up to the expectations, that's when depression kicks in. They'll start losing interest in the activities that matter most to them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because then they're having anxiety, they're having depression because of that high expectation they put on their shoulders. For example, let's just use okay, I always like to use soccer as an analogy. You know what I mean? So because soccer is something that everybody watches, most people watch soccer. Understand? So for example, you can see in soccer, you see that some teenagers they are good in soccer. Sometimes they play in soccer and they find out that some academies or scouts might come over to say to them, okay, right, I want you guys to come to a club to try or something. Scouts can fish them out and just take into over there. Do you understand? So, and when they're out there, go in there, sometimes they are not ready. The parents might say, okay, no, I don't think my child or my son, my daughter is ready to go. Can you give them more time in order for them to go? Though every parent wants their child to excel. But because of that much pressure out there, you find out that some of them, when they get there, they see that there are other boys or there are other girls that are better than them. Now, the expectation is going to go what? More higher and all that. But at the long run, when sometimes you're going to see they drop them because they couldn't make or couldn't, so they couldn't pass
those expectations
and all that. And you find out that most of them, they start lacking that interest in it. They don't want to do more because they don't want to go down to the level. Do you understand what I mean? Now you see that ego will just come in and they start like doubting themselves, and because of that you see them, they're losing interest in that thing they love doing, and all that is because of those high expectations, and it brings that depression and anxiety into all those kind of things as well. So those are the things that parents are as well supposed to look into, at least to minimize.
Yeah, and the fourth one now of the challenges is drugs and alcohol. The availability of drugs with teenagers is high these days.
It's very, very high. Yeah.
And most young people even believe that drugs are less harmful now compared to the older generation. And drugs like marijuana are rampant among young people, And that pressure to abstain from them is high. So when you talk of alcohol, having a party without alcohol is unacceptable for teenagers. So the challenge and pressure from peer groups to do drugs is something that teenagers experience on a daily basis.
Yes, like we said about the older generations, it's not that they didn't do drugs and alcohol. They did that. But those days, most times they hide doing it. They don't do it openly the way it is now, because we said at the beginning that social media has amplified a lot of things. A lot of things that were hidden before, now social media has amplified it. You understand? You see that most teenagers now, you see them with marijuana, and the way they boast with it, to them it's cool to do it. Do you understand? And you see that other teenagers will try as well to be cool in order to do all those kind of things. So whereby in the older generations, when they see someone with that kind of things, they're looking at you that someone that doesn't have manners, that you're not trained properly from your home or something. These days it's not like that. So all those things have been amplified. As well, you made mention about alcohol in parties and all that. These days it's cool. It's not even only in parties. You see alcohol everywhere. Teenagers, they drink alcohol openly now. You understand? So it's something that is happening, and when the pressure for you to do it, you see that it's hard for teenagers to abstain. Understand? It would take a lot of mental strength for a teenager these days to abstain from all those kind of things. You understand what I mean? So, yeah, it's a lot of challenges that they're facing these days.
Yeah. And the last one, and the most challenging out of all of those, is social media. And we've spoke about this before in our previous videos. And social media is the core of all of these challenges. So when you look at social media, to a young person, it's a means of communication to a wider community. And it's a medium for them to have fun and meet new people, make friends, and to connect to family members. So you won't be wrong if you say that young people can't do without social media. But the risk associated with social media is what parents should be mindful of. Also, parents should get involved to find a way to minimize the risk their children face on a daily basis.
Yeah, we said all the whole thing that we said there. We said that about all of this depression, the pressure from parents, high expectation, and everything. The social media has already amplified it, like we said. Understand? So, and when you talk about social media, I think is the best thing that have happened to this generation. Understand? Is enormous. The benefit that came from it is enormous. We discussed that, like you said, in one of our podcasts. It's very, very, very. It's something that I don't know, and it's still evolving. Do you understand? Technology is still evolving. I understand, but the challenges as well is there. You cannot. There's no way you're gonna get away from it. It's obvious that we're seeing most of the challenges, and that's something that parents have to find a way to minimize those risks that are associated to social media. You know, so some people can say that being a teenager in in 21st century, understand me, can become seriously difficult because of things that we mentioned above. Like what most teenagers would say, that adults always think that they are not intelligent enough to handle their own businesses. They are not intelligent.
Lack of freedom.
They are not intelligent enough to do their things they want to do on their own without supervision. Understand? But at the end of the day, parents want their teenagers to act mature. But when these teenagers go out there, start behaving like kids. Do you understand what I mean? That's when it becomes a problem. Do you get me? And some parents as well, they want their teenagers to act mature as well, and they still go along to treat them like kids as well. Do you understand what I mean? It's both ways. But bottom line is that social media has amplified most of the things we're saying. You know?
And you can't forget that every teenager is different from another. And the way each one needs support is different as well. So each one, the way they handle pressure or any challenges, it will differ. So all they need is support and their listening ear.
Yeah, parents need to communicate with their teenagers. We have to listen as well to them. You know, especially, I think I'm going to highlight it again. Communication. That's the key. We talk to communicate with your teenagers and give that encouragement when necessary. Though it may seem that being a teenager these days is challenging, and the pressure associated to it is much. Understand? But technology, like I said, is enormous they have to take the benefit of it. They have to take advantage of what they have, which is technology, instead of looking at the negative part of it. At the end of the day, teenagers, they still gonna grow and pass this stage, move to adulthood. Do you understand what I mean? So when they still go back and look back to that period, do you understand? You know, they make mistakes, yes. You know, but it's good that the positive aspect of it will outweigh the negative. That's what I'll say about it.
Yeah. Thank you for staying with us till the end. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast.
And don't forget that family is everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.